Hey, what's going on everybody? This is Dom, and today we are comparing the iPad mini to the new Nexus 7. Now I realize this may be a bit unfair considering that Apple hasn't updated the iPad mini in almost a year, but this will give people who are looking to purchase one of these devices at this moment in time a good comparison between the two and maybe let you know which one is going to be better suited for yourself. So we are going to compare various aspects of the hardware on the iPad mini to the Nexus 7 and we'll see which one you prefer. So let's go ahead and get started with this. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is the construction between the two devices. Now, Apple is known for their premium look and feel by going with aluminum on their iOS devices, and the Nexus 7 actually has a plastic body. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but in my opinion, you definitely have more of a premium feel when it comes to the aluminum compared to the plastic unibody shell. But with that said, you also have to compare the price between the two. The iPad mini is going to cost you $100 more for that premium feel of the aluminum body. Now let's take a look at the height comparison. Now both of these devices are exactly the same height. They're both 200 millimeters or 7.87 inches tall. So there's not a big difference at all when you compare the height of the devices, but when it comes to the width, you can definitely see that the iPad mini is much wider than the Nexus 7, coming in at 5.3 inches, while the Nexus 7 is only 4.48 inches wide. Now, when taking a look at the depth of the devices, the iPad mini is only 0.28 inches thin, or 7.2 millimeters, while the Nexus 7 is 0.34 inches thin, or 8.65 millimeters. So the iPad mini definitely has a little bit on the Nexus 7 in terms of how thin it is, though the tapered edges of the Nexus 7 make it perceivably thinner when you're holding it in your hand. Now let's compare the displays here. The iPad mini has a 7.9-inch diagonal LED backlit display that has a resolution of 1024 by 768, counting 163 pixels per inch. The Nexus 7 has a 7.02-inch IPS display, 1920 by 1200 resolution, and 323 pixels per inch, but you do have this little bottom soft touch button part right here that does consume part of the display. Now the Nexus 7 has 323 pixels per inch, so you're definitely getting a much crisper picture, but like I said, the display starts right there where my finger is, and you're actually losing almost a little over a quarter inch of space there with those buttons at the bottom. Now like I said, the Nexus 7 definitely has a higher resolution, and that is very apparent once you're looking at both of the devices side by side. Now the higher pixel density on the Nexus 7 is especially going to make a big difference when it comes to reading text or ebooks, things like that, and you'll have a much clearer picture. Using a macro lens, I went up and close with the displays of the two devices, and here you have the iPad mini. You can definitely see the squared pixels there on the display, and when we take a look at the Nexus 7 here, it's a lot cleaner. I mean, you can still see the pixels when you're this close up, but you can tell the difference immediately between the two displays here. Taking a look at the bottom of the device, we have our micro USB and our lightning connector, and then we also do have speakers on the bottom of each device. Now, the Nexus 7 actually has a speaker on the top here, and this may be important to you or it may not, but it's definitely a notable feature here. Taking a look at the side of the devices, on the Nexus 7 we have a lock button here, and then we have our volume rockers, and I believe that little hole is a microphone hole there on the side. On the iPad mini we have our mute switch, and then we have a set of volume controls right beneath that with our lock button on the top. On the top of the devices, you'll notice both of them do have headphone jacks here, the Nexus 7 being on the opposite side from the iPad mini. And then, of course, the iPad mini has its microphone on the top side right here. The next thing you may notice between these two miniature tablets is that the iPad mini has a home button here, and that will allow you to wake up the screen and unlock the device using the slider. Now, the Nexus 7 has no physical button on the front bezel there, so in order to unlock the device or to wake the screen, you're going to have to use that lock button there. That's on the side because nothing you do on the screen here at the moment will wake it up. Now that brings me to my next point here. With the iPad mini, we can use a smart cover or the same functionality in another case to sleep and wake the device. Now what I noticed on the Nexus 7 is it does also have that same functionality, but it's in a different location, and of course you'll need a compatible accessory to be able to do that. But as you can see right here, I can easily sleep and wake the device using the iPad mini's smart cover on the opposite side of the screen. So like the iPad mini, with the Nexus 7, you'll have to purchase an additional accessory to get that functionality. Now, as far as hardware notifications go, you don't have anything on the iPad mini, but on the Nexus 7, we do have this little glowing notification pulse light right here, which will let you know that you have notifications waiting on your device to be addressed. Now, like I said, there's nothing on the iPad mini that will do this, except of course the screen lighting up, showing you a notification there when you receive one. As far as the rear cameras are concerned, both of these devices, the Nexus 7 and the iPad mini, have 5 megapixel cameras that will shoot 1080p video. Now, as far as the quality goes, we will definitely be doing a quality comparison between the cameras in a future video, so stay tuned for that. Now, as far as the front-facing cameras go, both of these devices do have one, and they are both 1.2 megapixel cameras, so they're not going to be the best quality, but they definitely get the job done for things like FaceTime and Skype. One last thing to note is that the Nexus 7 does have built-in wireless charging as well, so you don't have to use the charging port on the bottom if you have a compatible QI wireless charger. So keep that in mind. But overall, I just wanted to give you guys a nice little comparison between the iPad mini and the Nexus 7. Of course, when Apple updates the iPad mini later this year, this comparison may change. So keep that in mind. But if you're looking to buy one here in the near future, then this will definitely help you make that decision. As always, let me know what you think down in the comments below, and leave me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Thanks again for watching, everybody. This is Dom, and have a great day.